We are live. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Hi guys. It is Thursday, February the 11th. It is the night of a new moon. Apparently it's called the snow new moon. Hello, hello, hello. It is called the snow new moon. And it's very apt because it's very white round here. It's flippin' freezing, as we say in Britain without using the F word, which of course I'm free to use liberally, but I'm trying to speak cleaner. Definitely within, it's been noticed within the household, within the family, that I have a tendency to F and blind a bit more than I should, not setting a great example to the younger members of the family. But I don't use it indiscriminately. I use it for emphasis. I think swear words are great for emphasis. Hi guys, nice that you could all be here. It's very white and ice here too. It's not white and ice in LA, but you love the cold, Ed. Yeah, I do actually really like the cold. I like winter to be cold. I like my spring to be slightly warmer and green and a different light. I like my summers to be really hot. And I like my autumns to be sort of in between. But I like cold winters. So I'm now in Wales. I came to Wales a few days ago. I know it's locked down, but I came here because I've come to work. And I feel I'm kind of ready to press on with some music. I haven't been in a great place. Some of you might know that. I've spoken a bit about it, but I feel better, and I had to come to finish the studio and to move on with that. And it's been good. And I walked up Plynlimmon yesterday, the mountain nearby, and it was very, very, very cold. And I went up thinking it was actually a beautiful bright day here, and I actually went up thinking, oh, this will be a breeze. Well, actually, there was sheet ice on the way up on these steep bits, and I don't have things like crampons and ice picks. I've got walking boots, and and I got to the top, but it was flipping freezing. Foot of snow here in New York. Yeah, and it was drifting. There was snow drifts. I mean, it hasn't had a foot of snow, but there's snow drifts, and it's up on top of a mountain. It's blooming cold, and the wind was blowing. It's coming from the east. I was talking with Adam today, and some of you might know Adam. You'll have seen him on stage. He's the one who always looks after me and hands me my guitars, and he's a very good friend. And he was saying he thought it could be -20 with a wind chill up there. I didn't say that. I'm not saying I was up there with a wind chill of -20, but he said it could be. So, -20 wind chill. Anyway, all right. So, what mountain was it? It's called Plynlimmon. Everywhere, I'm just going to say -2 and snowing in the Netherlands. Yeah. Love cold weather. Hello from Scotland. Cold there too. David Bowie. What's David Bowie got to? I went for a walk through the fields, felt like my face was going to fall off. Yeah, I would normally shave by now, but I think there's a reason that we have this facial hair. And it's not because I'm trying to look like Wim Hof. He's like my new hero, and I'm trying to do everything like Wim Hof. No, it's not, actually. Portugal. Yeah. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Hi from Sao Paulo, the Brazilian brothers and sisters. I hate ice. You can fall and break bones. You can. Oh, thank you, Modo. Love you too. Hello, Colombia is present. My name is Fernando. Hi, Fernando. Freezing in the northeast. I bet it is, Lisa. I like Radiohead rocks and rolls. Tampico, Mexico. Hi, everybody. Well, today I'm going to connect with somebody, one of you lot, but I've actually... Oh, no, hang on a sec. Wait. Someone said, have you watched the Adam Curtis doc? Yeah, it's out today. Any of you guys know of Adam Curtis? He makes very, very good, deep, dark documentaries, and they're excellent. And I think it's released today on the iPlayer. And I may well if I've got the inclination. I'll either watch it. I'll probably watch it tomorrow night because I think they're usually pretty long. Hi from Orange County, California. So I actually connected with someone before this, who's somebody who comes and joins us, and her name is Jamela or Jamela, and she's over in America, and I thought it would be really nice to. She sounds cool, and I thought it'd be cool to connect with her. So right, Jamela, is she there? Is she there? I've got to press see all. Here we go. There she is. Okay, I'm going to bring her in. Jamela. Here we go. Send request. Adam Curtis is awesome. We love his work. Jamela, waiting for Jamela. Jamela!
It's Jamela, you were right the first time.
I was right the first time. You know, us Brits are so bad at pronouncing American names.
It's not American, actually. It's Arabic.
Is it Arabic?
It's Arabic, yeah.
Ah.
And I don't know if you're familiar with the British actress Jamila Jamil, but she spells her name with like 3 E's, which I think is genius. Yeah,
well, I think that's the thing where I get confused. Like, if it's 2 E's, if you'd sent Jamila with 2 E's, every day I'm like Jamila, and that's why I looked at it before, and I was like, is this Jamila or Jamela? And I thought, I reckon because it's America. I didn't know the Arabic thing, but I thought there are quite a few Arabic names in America. I thought it might be Jamila. What does it mean? What does Jamila mean? Do you know?
I hate saying this because it sounds so terrible, but it means beautiful.
Oh, it's so apt, Jamila. Come on.
It just sounds so like, it means beautiful. You know, like it just sounds, I hate saying it. But it means beautiful in Arabic. And it's crazy because I'm always having to explain my name. So they're like, well, are your parents Arabic? I'm like, no, my dad's name is Kenneth and my mom's name is Janice. So like.
Where did that come from? Were they influenced? Do you think they were influenced by, are they Muslim or are they,
No, I think they just, I think their generation, like they kind of grew up in like the 60s and 70s. And it was this like urge to connect to something more like African. And I thought that they thought that their names were so basic that they were like, flipping through a baby book, looking for meanings. But I mean, I think one thing that people don't understand is that if you give your kid a name that's not common in your country, you kind of have to like teach them some things that go along with it. So like I just had a baby, her name is Yukimi, and that's a very not common name. And so I have to like let her know like, hey, like from a little kid, like, hey, people are going to say your name wrong. You have to make sure that they say it right, because it's teaching your kid to get people to respect you from an early age. Because I used to just let people call me Jamela because I didn't want to like.
Yeah, no, you can't have that. Can I just stop? Sorry, I'm going to come back, but congratulations. I know because I looked at your Instagram. So it's a little girl.
She's a girl. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's born in what, October?
November. She was born on election day.
Wow.
November 3rd. Yeah.
Wow. And your first?
My first. Mm-hmm.
Oh, congratulations. I having seen my wife give birth to our children, it's just what you mothers do. And I always say that, it happens every second of every moment there's a child being born, but it's a miraculous event, and it's so taken for granted. And I think mothers are so taken for granted.
Thank you. I think one thing that people don't kind of understand about motherhood is that like I'm the same person I was before I went through this drastic life-changing event. And so I'm still a little bit like, I'm so happy and I'm so like filled with joy and love. I've never had this kind of love before, and my body just did this amazing thing. But there's like a small part of you that just kind of like, especially being in a pandemic, that kind of mourns life that you left behind, the body that you left behind. Like I don't look the same. Like I've completely, so much of my life has changed that it's a huge adjustment. And we just moved. we lived in New York City for years. My husband lived there for like 16 years. I lived there for close to 10 years. And we just moved to Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow. Wow.
We did
So
the
how
whole.
have you, I mean, how have you found it? Because, and you can be honest, because like I, you know, when it happened to us, the description was it's like the love bomb going off in your life. It is, everything changes. But the first year was hard. It was really, I mean, how's it been? You look amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
How
been
you find?
actually, it's been, I say this all the time. Me and my partner have never laughed so much in our lives because there's
Wow.
so much crazy shit going on. Like just even something as small as like, I put the burp cloth here and I'm burping the baby and then she turns her head and throws up over here. And it's like, or,
I know.
the other day she just sat in my hand and
Yeah.
there was just, I didn't know what to do. And it's like, we have never laughed so much in our lives. So I definitely think that it's brought us closer.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And what's her name again?
Her name is Yukimi. So,
Yukimi. Yes, come on.
I don't know if you've heard this band called Little Dragon,
Of
but they're
course.
okay. So the lead singer, her name is Yukimi. That's where I
Yeah.
got the name from. I just thought the
Ah,
name was so cute. So the lead singer, her name is Yukimi Nagano, and she's
yeah.
half Japanese, and so the name is Japanese. It means snow.
They are, yeah, they're a great band. I love
Yeah.
Little Dragon. What was that song about? I was obsessed. Something came out about it. Was it Sexual Union? Was that what it was called?
Oh, Ritual Union.
Ritual.
Close.
It's kind of, that's probably what it was about
The
anyway.
ritual.
Yeah, she's got an amazing voice.
Yes, yes. It's so jazzy.
So jazzy.
Yeah, she used to sing for Coop, I think. And yeah, she's just awesome. She's such a badass and I love her style. But her name was really cute and my partner is very analytical. We had a spreadsheet full of names and we each ranked them from 5 to 1.
I said you've muted. I've lost you. Oh, there you go.
I have a social media time limit thing on my
Oh,
phone,
okay.
so I don't spend too much time on the Instagram.
Okay. Take that off.
But yeah, we had a spreadsheet of all the names that we liked,
Yeah.
and we rated them from 1 to 5. 1 meaning we hated it, and 5 meaning we loved it.
Yeah.
And any name that I ranked a 5, like I loved it, he hated it, and vice
Okay,
versa.
name one. Name one that you loved and he hated.
Django.
Django.
For a boy, he was like, absolutely not.
Django. Where did you get Django from? I know Jago, but not Django.
Django from the movie, the movie with Jamie Foxx. It's a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Okay. All right. I haven't seen that one. What about, so what was the one that your partner really loved and you didn't? Kevin.
Okay. So Haifa is like a city in Israel.
Yeah, Haifa, the old port of Haifa.
Yeah, and I was like, absolutely not, because no, like, no. And then I asked a friend of mine who is Jewish, and I was just like, listen, he wants Haifa, and like, I just really don't like it. He was like, Haifa's like the Cleveland of Israel. Like,
what?
he was like, don't worry about it. It's like, it's not even that great of a city. No offense to anyone from Haifa. I didn't say it.
I think your friends got it wrong because Haifa, if I was to compare it, it's an old city in Israel. It's very beautiful. The port in Haifa is beautiful.
Okay.
And a really big there was the Arabic population. We used to get bread from Haifa. But yeah, I think you're right there. I think you're right there. And you weren't tempted by anything like, because you being a Radiohead fan, you weren't tempted by Oxford or Abingdon.
Although I do have this huge obsession. I know you guys aren't from there, but I have this huge obsession with London because a lot of my favorite acts come from London. Like I'm a huge T-Rex fan.
Yeah.
I'm a huge, Amy Winehouse fan. I love the Specials. Like I love the Clash. Like a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just a huge fan of that whole area and the music that comes out of there. And also, I mean, I know that it's very heavily influenced by like Black music from here. So
that's the whole thing. What you have to understand about British music is like, you know this, that often it's taking Black American musicians, like what the Beatles and the Stones did and all that era. They took, the rock and rollers like Little Richard, Chuck Berry, the
Right.
Rolling Stones taking Muddy Waters and blues guys, and they just do their thing with it and bring it back, and it, you know, it becomes a big thing because, you know, and the same thing, like, for instance, a lot of, you know, if you think about like music, EDM is massive, right? It's a phenomenon. Where did EDM come from? So the interesting thing about electronic dance music is so I was at university at Manchester University from 1987 to 1990. And during that time, there was this thing called acid house broke out. It was this whole dance movement, and it was electronic, and it was extraordinary. It was an extraordinary time to be like a late teens. You know, it was our punk. You know, our generation before had punk and they had the Pistols, but this was our punk. And what I loved about the whole dance and the rave thing was that Britain in the 80s was a very violent place. You know, it was there was a lot of tension because we had a conservative government who were basically dismantling an industrial society. And there were aspects of it that needed to be readjusted, but they did it in such a brutal way, you know, with the miners' strike in '84 and all these things. And it was a very brutal, they literally got out a carving knife to the country, and they carved it up, and they left a lot of people behind, and we're still suffering from that. You know, Brexit has its roots in that. And so, you know, there was a lot of anger in the streets. So if you go to a nightclub in the mid '80s, or you go to out at night, you know, I remember being absolutely terrified. Yeah. And then dance music comes in, ecstasy plays a big part, but suddenly, rather than being like, people are hugging you. I fucking love you. And it's that thing. And, you know, you can say it was the drugs, but it was way more than that. It was a really, really important time. And that music came from Detroit and Chicago. And these are black electronic musicians using 808s, you know, drum machines, people like Derek May, all these guys, techno,
soul samples, women singing over. I'm a huge Frankie Knuckles fan.
Frankie Knuckles, still Steve Silk, all these people, and it was, so that's all we do. And I think really, you know, when I look at now at the most pioneering kind of music that's being made, and I still think it's like, you know, for me, it's black hip hop. It's you know, artists like Kendrick Lamar. I mean, it's just extraordinary. And I love Moses Sumney. I mean, he's not hip hop, but he's an experimental, and people like Thundercat and you know, all these guys. So yeah. I mean, Britain, we've had it's interesting that you like like a lot of the London stuff, but of course, we've, like you mentioned, the Specials, they were influenced by ska, which came from Jamaica.
Right.
You know,
I think you guys do a really good job of like translating it into a way like you, and also I think people in Europe, they have really good taste in music. Like there's a lot of artists in America that don't do that well here, and then they go to Europe and they have like massive success over there. And I think, you know, Thundercat is one of those people. Victor Wooten, who's a bassist, is one of those people who like does great numbers in like Amsterdam, but like comes here and like, you know, the club's not as packed, you know. And so I think that the taste level is like really, really, really good. And I mean, honestly, just to give you props, like I love what you guys did on Amnesiac with jazz. And I'm telling you, when King of Limbs came out, I listened to Feral at least 20 times because I had to, like, I was like, what am I hearing? And I was so obsessed with it. I was so obsessed with Feral.
Oh, like, that's cool.
I just pressed replay. Same thing with Bloom. I was just like, I had to like make sure that I was hearing what I was hearing because it was so
wow. That's really cool, because it's not a record of ours that a lot of people kind of, you know, refer to, you know. And it was a funny time because it was, when we made King of Limbs, we'd come straight off the back of touring the album beforehand, In Rainbows. I was just trying to remember the album beforehand. Right. But we didn't want to pick up we wanted to play together as a band, but we didn't want to pick up our instruments. So we were trying to find a way of being experimental. And it was kind of at these kind of slightly strange jam sessions, a lot of it. But it was, that's great. It was definitely, it's funny. I have a bit of, when I heard, not that I listened to our records, but I did hear it on the radio. And I think it just could do with remastering or something. Sonically, it just doesn't, it feels a little bit flat. It always felt like, compared to when we play the songs live, which has a lot of dynamic.
Steve, I was just about to say that. So,
Yeah.
so my favorite two songs on King of Limbs are Bloom and Feral.
Yeah.
But when you guys did the From the Basement for that album,
Yeah.
it completely changed the way that I felt about that album. I love it. I love the way that Mr. Magpie sounds sped up, and it sounds better live than it does on the album.
It has, but you know, that happens a lot, doesn't it? Like with bands, sometimes you might not really kind of get the album, and then you see it live. I've had that. I mean, I always have that with bands that I'm just kind of, I'm not sure, or artists, and then you see them live, and you go, oh, okay, I got it.
It actually happened. I heard Earth, and then I saw you play at Le Poisson Rouge in New York, which is so sad. I miss concerts. But yeah, I understood the album better after I saw you play it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Now I love it. It was on repeat for a really long time.
Oh, I'm good. I kind of, it's a funny thing because when the album came out, I immediately suddenly, because it's this weird thing that happens when you make a record, you believe in it, you love it, and you love it. And the moment it came out, literally the day it came out, I suddenly saw all the flaws and I was just like, oh, God. Yeah. So, you know.
That's being an artist for you.
Yeah, and it's like Jim Jarmusch said, it was really great what Jim Jarmusch said the other day when I was talking to him. And he said, it's a process. You start. I've had, the hardest thing making Earth for me was my vocals. I was just learning how to sing. It's very different doing backing vocals to lead sing vocals. And so I kind of, that's the thing that will develop more and more. And I need to start singing. I mean, I do sing a bit every day, but I need to start properly singing. But my singing's too loud in the house, so I have to be away from my family when it happens.
But do you really enjoy it?
I do love singing. You have to love singing.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you start singing, it's like anything. What you hear in your head, and then it gets played back to you on tape, you go like, was that me? Or it's like the recording is just like, so it's that weird thing that happens. You start doubting what you're hearing in your head. So you lose self-confidence. You go like, well, I don't know if I'm singing any good now. But, you know, it's like anything. It's, you know, I remember Tom didn't have the voice that he has now 30 years ago when we started, or 34 years ago, whatever. It's like a muscle. You have to use it and you have to learn. And I think also, sadly, one of the things about going out to play live, I was really looking forward to singing, 2 hours, sound check and then, a gig. And that would have, I remember the moment we started touring with Radiohead and we were doing 120 gigs a year, 130 gigs, Tom's voice just like, he gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So yeah.
Well, I miss concerts so much. My husband's not that into music as I am, but for I think it was like our second anniversary, he was like, I want to like go outside the country. And it was the same day that you guys announced that you were touring South America. And I was like, what do you think about South America? And he was just like, I don't know. He was like, I really want to see Machu Picchu. And I was like, okay. And I looked to see if you guys were playing Peru, and you were. And so like, we saw you guys in Peru. And
wow.
That was actually like the last big like arena concert that I've been to.
So you were there in Peru, did you? And you went on to Machu Picchu?
Yeah, we went to Machu Picchu.
Oh my God, don't you love that country?
Peru is like, Japan and Peru are like two favorite countries.
Lima,
well, I mean, like I only saw Lima and Cusco, but
Cusco is,
the food, like, it's just amazing. I drank so much. What are those, Pisco Sours?
Pisco Sours.
I drank so many Pisco Sours. Yeah, I drank so many Pisco Sours. But then also, like, in America we have so many rules and we're so oppressive. But, like, if you go in a hot tub in America, there's always a big thing that says, do not drink. Like, do not drink here if you're drunk. But in Peru, they're just like, whatever. And they had those, like, hot springs.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I was just like, oh my, yeah, it was blast, blast. But seeing you guys was definitely like a highlight. It was really cool. It was
That
like,
was an amazing night. I mean, I don't know what it's like out front because that was a big gig. That was the National Football Stadium.
right. And it
But
was the first, I think it was like the first time you guys had played in Peru.
we'd never played in Peru before, and I'd been in Peru with my family. Like when we lived in Brazil, we went and had at the end we had a month in Peru, and I just felt the magic of that country. Sometimes when you go to a place in the mountains, like you said, and the people, and it's so old, and
Yeah.
I just felt like sometimes when I'm in these places, I feel like I'm walking on air. I feel I'm like, it's just yeah, it's such a magic place. So it was so exciting to go back to Peru and be there and to play with the play for the for
Yeah.
you and everyone else.
Well, it was cool because it was like, we're waiting for you guys to come on stage, and like we sat through Flying Lotus where there's like no lyrics at all,
Yeah,
and then you guys come on stage, and it's like the whole time I'm sitting there like waiting for you guys to play, like everybody speaking Spanish, nobody speaking English. I'm asking, with the Spanish that I know, like where to go for things, and people like second you guys come on, people knew all the words, like all the
yeah,
words to every song, and I was like, that's trippy. That's so trippy.
yeah. Oh, I
That's
miss that. I mean, I miss those, like we all do. We all miss those connections that we all have through music. Music is like when it's a great gig, whether you're, it doesn't matter what side of the thing you're on, but it's like ceremony, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
it's like how I imagine, you know, gospel church or whatever. It's like the right kind of church. It's the
yeah,
church of love, light, and sound.
yeah. And there's just an energy that's like
Yeah,
it's 360. It's everywhere. It's even. I remember seeing a show in the way back, and you could still feel that energy, like from the nosebleed.
yes. I
So,
just always at those nights. I feel like I want to stage dive into the audience with like a big, and just like a big kind of loving. Um,
yeah, no, I'm
but
still
I'm
looking
always worried
forward to
about
Monday.
flattening people. So I
You're
don't.
kind of big.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a good thing. I don't think it would be very safe.
Yeah. Yeah, but I wanted to come on the live really, really badly
I know.
on that day that the insurrection at the Capitol happened,
Oh yeah, right.
because you went live that day. I think it was a Thursday,
Yeah,
and like I grew up in Washington D.C. I lived there for most of my life. I moved to New York City when I was 27, and I'm 34 now, and I just moved to Georgia. But I moved to Georgia right in time for the Senate runoff elections,
yeah,
and I got to vote, which was really, really cool. And like we turned, Georgia
yeah,
blue, which was awesome. But the day of that Capitol thing was the day that we were waiting for the election results. And it was just crazy to watch. But, like hearing, like, you talk about it. And it was just like I had so many strong opinions just like being from DC,
mm,
and, just being black in America and seeing this happen and seeing this happen in my hometown. It's like part of me was just like, wow, this is really, really shocking. But also, like, it was really shocking in the kind of way that, like, if you had seen, like, your classmate's father beat up your school principal, where it was like, whoa, this is crazy. This is like crazy that this is happening.
yeah,
But at the same time, like, it's also equivalent to if you live in Brixton and someone says, "Oh, there's something going down at Buckingham Palace. Is your family okay?
yeah,
Are
yeah,
you okay?" And it's like that's over there. Like that's happening to these like government officials. And while it's scary to me, I feel like I've lost the ability to be shocked by things that happen in this country.
yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
In 2013 there was like that whole thing where a man went into a school and shot a bunch of like first graders, and like a bunch of like little kids died, and then the government did nothing about
Yeah,
that. And I think that was the day that like my ability to care about what is happening on that level kind of
Do you
died.
think do you think the response, for instance, that's interesting. So are you saying in a way that the response that do you think the response is not as great in something like that shooting in 2013 as what happened on Capitol Hill. It's suddenly, you know, it's almost like, yeah, it's
like my sentiment is that I've seen worse. Like
yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
worse. And
It's a
so
good
when
point.
people were so shocked, it's
Yeah.
just like I was kind of a little numb to it. And
Well,
plus
it's
all these people, they don't live, all the people that you saw storming the Capitol, like they don't live in DC. Like they
yeah.
are people who drove by the bus full into the city. And it was kind of like, you know, it was bound to happen. Like it was bound to happen. Like the past 4 years, I'm watching these people get riled up, and he's saying, you know, Trump was saying all the right things to like, you know, and so in Facebook and the allowances that they let to, you know, people say inflammatory things, hateful things, like hang him and like, you know, like really hateful, racist things. And it was like a powder keg. It was just like, it was bound to happen.
did you grow up being aware of, did you have people who would be racist to you, Jamila? Were you aware of?
Well, I grew up in a really like, I grew up in a predominantly black environment. It wasn't until I was older, um, like I guess like more towards like high school age is when I started seeing mostly just how this country works and how, I mean, not even just this country, how the world works and
Mm,
how whiteness is kind of like a thing that you aspire to. And
yeah.
so I watched these kids my age who had really, really cool cultures and backgrounds kind of like shorten their names so that it was easier to pronounce, or like, you know, try to like change their aesthetics or not bring their family food to school because it's too different. Like I watched people try to assimilate
Mm,
to whiteness, and I understand why, because the more you're able to do that, the better you get through life a lot of times, you know. And that's why I think I was so passive about people calling me Jamela, because it's like, you know, I don't want to rock the boat. But then I made a distinct decision when I got old. I just kind of came into a consciousness where I was like very proud of like who I was. And some people of color never get there. And
really?
some people of color, you know, get that they were raised that way. It really just depends, you know, because there's a reward system in the world for, you know, catering to whiteness and a supremacy. And I think that's something, I mean, it's the kind of thing of like, this country is like pretty young, America's pretty young, but like black people have been here since like the beginning, and you know,
Yeah.
have really helped build this country and contribute to it culturally and academically in so many ways. But like, you can still go into a boardroom that's like 100% white, you know. And it's and being in the workplace and seeing stuff like that, it's just kind of like, why am I the only black person in the room? It's just,
Yeah.
it's weird to me. It's so weird. And I think that, you know, there are people who they can afford to have the blind spot. Like they don't have to see it. And I don't see myself as like diversity. I see myself as a person, as
Yeah,
a
of
person with
course.
a person with a lot to contribute. And so it's weird to have someone say like, you know, we need to get more, you know. It's just
Yeah.
weird. It's like
Do you feel positive after what's happened in the last year about a sense of like we'll never go back to where we were? I mean, listen, I'm a white male, which is the thing which is I guess the white male made the rules up, and you know continue to make the rules. But it feels, what I love about, you know, being a white male, feeling about it now is that we can, you know, the barn doors are blown open on this. We can never go back. And, you know, for me as well, I've got to say as a white male, I've spent most of my life, I went to an all boys school. I was in a band, all men. I've
mm-hmm.
been amongst white males all my life.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I'm fucking bored. Honestly,
That's,
honestly.
I would think so. Like I
Because, and
grew up in
I'm not generalizing, but I'm just, you
yeah.
know, I'd much rather, you know, I know all about it. I know its limitations. I know its huge limitations. In fact, I grew up, and I think that's one of the things about the band, is that we grew up knowing it was bullshit. You know,
Right.
it was bullshit because it was hierarchical. And we went to schools that were hierarchical. And we
Right.
saw these prats who, at the top of the hierarchy, And just because they're either, you know, educated the right way or born into privilege or have a lot of money or know the right people and they're male, that they, you know, that they are able to be the ones in power. And, you know, I was also lucky because my parents split up. So I lived for a while with my mum and my sister. So it was a more heavily weighted female environment.
Right.
And that for me, I was very, well, it was kind of weird in my family because my mother and her mother and my mother's grandmother had all worked. They'd all been doctors. So there wasn't, you weren't aware of the sense of, you know, inequality between the sexes. However, as soon as I started sort of, you know, hanging out with the girls age 14, 15 at the girls' school and, you know, liking that, I was really aware of that kind of boy-girl thing and how the boys were allowed to get away with stuff that the girls weren't. And I always thought it was, I never felt comfortable with it. So,
well, I think you get a perspective the more people you're around and the more diverse your circle is when you start hanging out with more women and more, I mean, we all have some sort of privilege. Like I have heterosexual privilege. I never have to worry about walking down the street and holding my partner's hand. Like that's never an issue for me. And then also, you know, being from DC and then moving to New York, one thing that I realized is that DC is very, very handicap accessible and New York isn't. So it's like, what do you do if you have a wheelchair in New York City? You know, like, so there's like, we all have different privileges, but I think the empathy comes and the change comes with like recognizing the privilege that you have and that other people don't have, and like working towards change, even in like a little bit, even if it's just like, you know, in your workplace, you know, like, hey, we should hire more of this person. I notice that we have a lack of diversity in our circle, you know, like look at your friends group, look at your friends and say, hey, like maybe I should join something where I can meet more of different kinds of people. Like it enriches your life in such a way that it's really, really sad when you meet people and they're just like, they don't have that in their life.
Yeah. And I think also a lot of it comes from, I remember that, you know, there were two things. My mum was very good about, there were a couple of things that always really struck. The first thing was my mum was reading me this book when I was about age 6, and there was this character, it was called Tom and the Water Babies. And there was this character called Mrs. Do As You Would Be Done By. And then there was Mrs. Be Done By As You Did or something. And they were two different. So my mum said, it was ingraining a kind of a code of behavior at a very young age. And my mum said to me, she said, that's a good way to be, isn't it, Mrs. Do As You Would Be Done By? That means that you treat people as you'd like to be treated. So that was in there. And then the other one was, you know, try walking a mile in another person's shoes. You know, that you might not be able to, and I think that's what compassion is, and that's what, there's a difference between empathy and compassion, which is kind of, I'm not going to go into that, but, you know, I'm never going to be able to know what kind of situations you've had to face, Jamila, but what I will always do is I'll always try and I won't be able to feel it and know exactly, but I will always try and understand it, and I'll always try and, you know, I always hated hierarchies. I've been lucky because I traveled, my parents took us traveling to, you know, we went to India in 1976. And so I've always traveled around the world, and I never felt, why would you feel superior to anybody? Why would you feel better than anybody? I would just...
Well, to your point though, it's like you don't know what shoes that I'm wearing unless you talk to me.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and so it really does, it's like the, you know, especially in America, racism is such a great tool to make people feel a certain way about themselves that feels good, and you don't recognize that you're in the same boat as the person that you're hating against. Like, you know, like you'll have really, really, really poor white people who are just like, yeah, Trump. And it's like, that dude don't give a fuck about you. Like, he really does not care about poor people and like what you're going through. And you're willing to like vote against your own interests because that guy speaks to something that makes you feel good about yourself. You know, and it's a sickness. And I mean, I hope that by the time Yukimi is older, that things will be better. I do have, hope in the kids, and like,
Yeah.
the fact that like when I'm a millennial, so like, and I'm an old millennial. Like there's the cutoff of like and I'm like at the top of that cutoff. But
What year were you born in?
I was born in 1986. But
1986.
I was 13 in 2000. So like I was 13 in 2000 and I didn't have a computer. And I was like, I had to go to Best Buy and buy the CD for like, when Kid A came out. And like, I just, and then I didn't get social media until I was in college. Like the Facebook was an app for people who were in college.
Yeah.
And so like, I didn't grow up with like social media, and there's goods and bad sides to that. I think the good side is that I didn't have the pressure that a lot of kids have, but, the bad side is that the good side is I didn't have the pressure that kids have, but also like the information that kids can spread to each other. Like, I'm able to see what other kids are going through in different areas. Like we're able to see the farming situation in India because of social media. I probably wouldn't have known about that. It's not like I'm looking for that information. It's like presented to me. So
it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, the positivity of social media, and obviously the huge negative aspect of it, but the positive, it's funny, I was thinking about this just before we came on. I just thought, I mean, this is extraordinary, like to be able to connect with you, to be able that people from all over the world, we've now got this, 100 years ago, I always say this, so 100 years ago is like 1921. Wars were still being fought between nations, and what was happening was that the leaders of those nations were duping their populations and saying, like they were saying about the Germans are evil. And nobody ever met a German. Most people didn't. Now, you can't do that. It's just like, no, fuck off. You can't tell me that person. I've just been hanging out with them, and we've got all these great travel programs, and some of us travel, and you realize that 95% of the people that you meet are absolutely brilliant. They're kind, they're generous, there's respect.
And a lot of them have no control over what is happening in their government.
No, exactly. Exactly. And it's the 5%, and a lot of them are male. A lot of them are male. And it's that kind of young male. Anyway,
Yeah. I'm aware.
Yeah. I know that I wanted to. I know that you got. Have you prepared something? You said you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because
and you're very, very kind to do this. I actually have here. I could take her.
Oh, is this Yukimi?
Yeah, it's Yukimi. She woke up.
Oh, darling. Hi.
Say hi, Ed.
Hi, Yukimi. Hi, darling.
Okay.
How are you? She's beautiful.
Thank you.
She just woken up.
Yeah, she just woke up.
Yeah, just had a little.
Like they only sleep for like an hour, and then in that hour you have to get everything you want to get done, like in that small window of time. But it's very nice of you to do this. So I knew I was speaking to you. I'm a huge, like massive Radiohead fan. I've been a huge fan since I was 13, and there's no way that I could talk to you without asking you some questions. So very nice of you to let me do this.
Fire away, and it's a quick fire round, so I can't take too much time thinking about it, right?
No, you can't take too much, just gut reaction.
Okay. All right, here we go.
When did you first feel like Radiohead or On a Friday were special? Like you had something that could go the distance?
Two parts to this, okay? One, right at the very moment where the first rehearsal with Tom, I think, and it was a couple of friends, and I don't think even Colin was there yet, but I was just like, oh my God, this is it. This is, so, but we were obviously patently shit. Then the other time was really probably, I think it's when we made the bends. I think when we finished the bends, suddenly thought, hang on a sec, this is a really, you've got to love what you do. I thought this is a really good record because it's the kind of record that I'd want to listen to, and I thought it was special, and I loved the way it opened up with Planet Telex. So, always you have this initial thing where you believe in it, and I was talking to my dad about it. It was so powerful that sustains you through the years of when you're not so good. And then, it was around the time of the bends, it was just like, oh, actually, yeah, we're all right.
Yeah, I asked that question just because I know that in quarantine, a lot of people are starting to try new things and different things, and there's always that like feeling of like, is this a waste of time? But like, there's
Yeah.
something in you that knows that like, no, there's something to this. Like, there's
It's
something.
if you, yeah, if there's something very you connect with. And I was talking to my dad. My dad didn't really understand it today. He said, "Oh, you can say that in hindsight." I said, "No, Dad. There's something that happens, and it's not just following your heart. It's something deeper, and it feels like it's a very spiritual thing in a way. I've had it very few times. I've been, I've only had it 3 times in total in my life. But it's suddenly, boom, I'm in here. Boom, this is it. I'm locked in.
Yeah.
So yeah."
Okay. How do you guys pick set lists?
So every day. What do we do? Every day we do, unless there's only one gig where we do it the day before, and that's Glastonbury. But every other day, so we arrive at the venue, we usually get there about 1:30, we have some lunch, and then Tom, Philip and I sit down after lunch. We have a list of songs, and there's usually about 80 songs. And we have the set list from the last 3, 4, 5 nights. And we always do something different. We try and, we pride ourselves on trying to make a different set list. And we're lucky because we've got a lot of songs to choose from. We try and do, I think it usually works out as about probably 19 songs in the set, probably about 5 in the first encore, or 2 and 3 in the second encore. I mean, we play quite a long time now,
Yeah.
but it feels okay to do that. So the opening songs are almost, the opening first 2 songs are almost always the same, unless we're completely bored. And then we choose that, give it to Peter Yusel, the tour manager. It gets printed out, and then we go and sound check. And we have a star on that sound check list of the songs that we need to, that we might not miss. Good Morning, Mr. Magpie, that we haven't played for a couple of weeks, or there might be something like Feral we're trying to get back into the set, or we just need to play it a few times.
So like in Peru, was there like a little bit of like a let's really creep? Let's sprinkle a little creep in there.
Well, yeah, because
you
we've
guys
never
barely
been.
play it, and I've
Yeah,
seen so many Radiohead shows, and that was the first time I'd ever seen it.
yeah, and I think it's because we've never played it there, and I think because we play Creep every single night until of every single night for, I don't know, we probably did 1,000 gigs.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't been somewhere like Peru, you know that Creep's a massive song. And the thing is, people aren't expecting it, but you get a lot of love. You do it for the right reasons, and you get a lot of love back for it. So it's a win-win, really.
Yeah, I was so happy to see
So
it.
you'd never seen it before, yeah?
I had never seen it before, and it's not even like on the list of my favorite
I know.
songs. It's like it was just really cool to see. Like, it was really special.
Yeah, it's funny
Okay.
because it's almost like someone else's song, isn't it? Creep is like, because it is the most successful song that we've, if you look at the streaming numbers, and it's like My Way or something. It's like playing My Way, or it's like a standard.
Because I'm such a huge fan, I can't tell you, like, I'm kind of sick of it. I get so many like people like, hey, have you seen this cover? Have you seen this cover of Creep? Have you seen this cover? And it's like, yes, I've seen them all.
Did you ever see, what did you think of Prince's cover?
Prince's cover was really cool.
Oh,
it was
my
really
God.
cool. That must have been amazing.
Oh my God. I tell you what, Prince was once in the audience when we played that Hollywood Bowl, and you could see Prince was in the audience with 5 very beautiful women.
Of course.
And I was just like, I felt, it's so humbling, because he's probably, Miles Davis, he's probably one of the greatest musicians that's ever walked this planet. I mean, extraordinary, absolutely can play everything, that feel, that. So yeah, it's when he did that, I mean, yeah, what a guy.
Have you just really quickly before I go to other questions, have you heard of this musician named Roman G and Arthur?
No.
Okay, so he did an album called OK Lady, and the whole entire album is a mashup of your songs and D'Angelo.
Oh wow!
And
no way.
Yes, but he plays. It's an original composition of your songs or Radiohead songs with D'Angelo songs. And actually, when I got married, we got married to a song. He mashed up "You're My Lady" with "All I Need," and
Oh my
it's
God.
beautiful. And so, if you get a chance, actually, I'll send it to you. But "Okay
Yeah,
Lady" is
DM me that. Yeah, that I'd love to hear that because
it's
D'Angelo obviously is like another one of those gods.
yeah. But I mean, it's so crazy how well like Radiohead
Yeah,
and D'Angelo blends.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
funny.
Hey, Yukimi. Yeah, that was a good feed, wasn't it?
So, next question, which is really,
Yeah.
really important question. Why was there no from the basement for a moon-shaped pool?
Well, I
It's
think because
not too
we.
late to do the right thing, by the
No,
way.
I know. I think because we just, to be honest with you, Moonshaped Pool was such a hard record to make. I think we were just sort of over being in the studio environment. It was kind of like, let's just get out on the road. So it it was a case of, it was never mooted. It was never, and I don't even think they were filming from the basement at that time. And remember, we did it we've only done it on 2 records. I don't think we've done it on 2 records.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
why.
they're
It was just like, we don't want to go back into a studio and record again.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I've seen
Good
you play
question.
arenas,
So,
but I also saw you play a solo show at La Poisson Rouge, as I had mentioned. What's the difference in feeling between playing an arena, a stadium, and a club show?
stadiums, I haven't done many stadiums. Stadiums are weird because it feels almost too big.
Hmm.
It feels like you need to kind of, if you're going to do stadiums, you've got to have a big production and you've got to just basically play greatest hit songs. I think Radiohead's perfect environment, if it's going to be big, is an arena. I think the arena thing, we really, we can do Madison Square Gardens. We did it 4 nights in a row and we played a different set each night. I think we've got a relationship with the audience that we don't have to play a greatest hits thing. And it feels like the usually sound is, we've got the sound pretty good in there. And it feels like it's weird. Arenas can actually feel quite intimate. Some nights it's just like everybody feels, because of the way they are, I can see everybody on the stands. I can wave to people. I can, they're surprisingly kind of close. I know that must sound weird. Theaters theaters are probably the best place to hear a band because the sound is so good in a theater. And clubs are great, but they're downright scary doing again because you can really feel the whites and beepers. Like people are really up close. So that for me I was really looking forward to getting into. I mean, I had a taste of it like Poisson Rouge, and I was getting used to it because it's a lot more. When you're in an arena on the stage and you're lit, you can be sort of, in a funny kind of way, you can be a lot more lost. But when
Right.
you're
Yeah.
right up close with people, they're right there. So you do feel, I was getting used to not feeling so self-conscious. I did feel a lot more self-conscious. But I mean, I think that's just experience. That's just what you do. So yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been on any of the Radiohead message boards?
No, never.
Okay, fair enough.
Should I? No.
Well, I don't even know if they're still around, but when I was in high school, I was like
Yeah, you're
really
on
into
there.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure if they're still around. Do your kids give a shit about your music at all? And have you ever caught them listening to your music?
Yeah, it's funny. My daughter was, she's really into, I bought her this speaker. We bought her this speaker for Christmas that is waterproof. And
Oh, cool.
she's really into listening to music in the shower really loudly. And I heard one morning, I heard Let Down really loudly come. I was like, I recognize that. And then it was just like, oh, she's listening to Let Down in the shower. And I was just like, oh, that's a good song. She's got good taste. Yeah, I mean, they do. It's really lovely with the kids. There's this really lovely balance between them. They're so deeply unimpressed by me, and I'm very embarrassing, as fathers should be to their children. I wouldn't expect them. I would hate. So they think. I mean, my son and Sal and Una are always like, when are you going to shave your hair? Is ridiculous. Why are you growing it long? Why all this stuff? But they they love the music, and they love, they love the Radiohead thing. And what was great is that they really, so the last gig that I did was Six Music show at Camden in London at the Roundhouse. And it was the first time that them and my wife had been able to come and see us live. And I could tell as I came off, and they were right there. They're like waiting by the stage. And, normally they're like fucking giving me hell, just giving me kind of a bit of jip, nicely, banter. And I could tell, and Una was just, I said, was that all right? And Una was like, no, it was good. And I said, you sound surprised. Yeah, she said it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I'll take that from her. So yeah,
that's a
they've got great
compliment.
they've got great music tastes, and Sal's probably got a little bit more R&B, hip hop in him at the moment. But although Una was listening to, what was she listening to? We bought her, she wanted NWA Straight Outta Compton on vinyl for Christmas, and I think she was listening to Kendrick Pimp a Butterfly the other day. So they're great. They feel it.
She's a West Coast hip hop fan.
Yeah, as I am. I mean, I love these.
Do they turn you on to music? Do they turn
Yeah,
you
they
on to
are,
music?
definitely they are starting to, because like with Journeys and stuff, be like, what's that? Especially, yeah, both of them. I mean, Una's kind of really into the alternative thing. She's really got she's got the alternative vibe going on with a smattering of hip hop. But Sal's very much into, the kind of London hip hop grime, also American kind of things. So he's a lot more, what kids are listening to. They're not listening to guitar bands really.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I have two more questions.
Right.
One, what is the conversation like when you and the band decide that you're going to record a Radiohead album after taking like years-long breaks? Like, how does that conversation usually start?
I've forgotten. It's been so long.
I mean, just because, well, one, we're in a pandemic, so you're fine. Yeah. Like, just the fact that you're doing things like this and you're like working on yourself is like good enough. But like when you guys have taken like years-long breaks, and with like, how does the conversation usually start? Where you're like, let's record music again.
I think it's more like, it's almost like you can tell there's a feeling that people want to do it. And I think that's, oh, bless you. That's where it all starts. And, it gets, we now, all of us, it's what happens with, and what people have to understand with bands is that you live, and particularly with the pandemic, but you live very different lives. I mean, we spend, we are brothers, but it's so like family. It's exactly like family. And as you get older and you have your own families, the band unit, the family unit isn't what it was. So, a lot of the time when you make a record back in the day, you're just rolling on, and your whole life. And now we've got very different lives, and everybody's doing stuff. So I'm a real believer in kind of these things naturally happen. And also we've got shit to sort out. We've got to, we're entering a different period. It's a very different period for the band. So the great thing about Radiohead is that we've always been really honest about what we do. So we haven't kind of, you're not going to get us saying, oh, we're making OK Computer Part 2 or something like that. It's got to be, where we are in the music we are has got to represent where we are individually and collectively. And we've all gone through, apart from Johnny, who's about to gone through the 50 gate, and it changes. Things change when it's a funny age. It's like, it's a weird one, it's because I always thought I was young, and now, and I'm sure we all did it, and I'm not anymore. I'm 52. And I don't feel any different, although I feel like I've been on this planet a long time now. There's a lot there. There are things that we all are as human beings, regardless of what we do, gates that we go through, ages, cycles, or whatever. And you have to process that. And I think probably for us, that what we're doing now is we're processing a lot of our personal and human things, human sides, and there's some musical stuff going on. But there's a lot of, and then we have to kind of figure out who we are, and then like, how does that work in a band context? So, you know, it's complex, but it's just real. It's very real. It's like life. And, you know, you think about it as well. I always think that Radiohead is kind of like it should be like a jazz band. You know, I like the idea of maybe people saying, you know what, I'm not in for this record, but because I want to do something, but maybe I come, you know, that thing where it's a bit more free flowing rather than we're this band. I think it's like, we've never been that kind of traditional band kind of thing. We've always been a little bit different. And I think we just have to, you know, listen, we can't do anything at the moment. And, you know, we're doing stuff. I can't reveal what it is, but it's not playing live, and it's not, but there's stuff afoot, and we're in contact and stuff. So, you know, when it's right, it'll happen.
As a fan growing up and having watched you guys as a band, and then see you guys branch off and see what Phil has done and what you have done and what, you know, Tom has done and what Johnny has done with, like, you know, composing and scoring. It's really, really cool to see you guys, you know, mature.
Oh, that's good.
As we mature and, you know, try different things and, you know, not be afraid to. So,
well, that's really lovely of you, because I think a lot of the time, sometimes you feel like, I mean, I sometimes I always read the comments on Instagram. People are like, when's the next fucking Radiohead album? And I'm like, I don't know. And sometimes you feel the pressure of that. It's just like, we're human beings, and like, Prince didn't play with the Revolution all his life. You know, it's like, you know, and there are some bands who do play together and they churn them out, and you've got to have something there. It's like I'd much rather not record than make a bad record, or just it's got to be for the right reasons. But, you know, I'm sure we'll get there. I'm sure.
As aggressive as those comments are, just like know that they're coming from a place of like of just yearning for your music. But that's awful that you have to read stuff like that.
You know, it comes across beautifully, like what you said. I totally get it, and it's really. I thank you for saying that, because it's really, when you say, like, to me, I really love watching what everybody's doing, and you know, I know Colin hasn't brought out any music, but he's a fantastic photographer, you know, and he's doing stuff. So it's like, and he's learning classical guitar, and it's like, it's important for people to you know, to go off and have their own journeys, you know, and then if and when we get back together again, it's richer, hopefully, or it's or it's the other.
I'm sure
it will like, be. Fuck this.
Somebody once told me that, like, you know, Tom York could fart on a snare drum and you would love it. And I was like, honestly, I'd have to hear it, because I trust as a band, I trust your taste level. If you guys release it, I'm probably going to like it. But,
okay, that's good.
But here's my last question. If you could start an Atoms for Peace like super group made of all your favorite bands, who would be on drums, who would be on bass, who would be on lead guitar, and who would be on vocals if not you?
Okay, well, on drums, my favorite drummer, well, I drummed with one of them. I mean, Omar Hakim was incredible. But Alvin, who's my drummer, who played at Poisson Rouge, is amazing. I think I probably have Alvin. I probably have my band. Okay, I can't say my band, because if I say some of them and then I don't say others, then that's bass player would be Nathan East, who played on my record. I would probably have. Well, you know what I'd probably do? I'd probably have the whole of Earth, Wind and Fire. I just have Earth, Wind and Fire, and I'd have Nathan East and Vernon White, who's the bass player. I'd have them kind of swapping, or I'd have Nathan in there, but I'd probably have something like. I mean, I know that's a bit of a crap answer. As current musicians,
it's a bit of a cheating kind of answer, because Earth, Wind and Fire is amazing, and
I know. Okay, all right. Okay, so I would, like, on bass, I'd have Nathan. I'd probably have. That's like what's your favorite record kind of thing. I mean, Tom actually had to play with them, so he'd get Flea in and he'd get Joey and Mauro. So he knew Joey, and he obviously got Flea in. I don't know. This is like, you don't have
to start this band? This is a fantasy question.
Okay,
So you really
I'm not very.
anything.
Yeah, I kind of. I would have Prince, and then I have Hendrix, and then I have. I don't know, because the thing is, I'm going to have to pass on that one, Jamila. That's the hardest one.
Nice. Well, thank you
All
so
right.
much for answering these questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on this live.
Well, thank you for
me on
coming
it.
on. Thank you coming on. You're a busy mum, and to take time out and from little Yukimi and to come on here. And thank you for your, your positivity and your good vibes and your energy on our little Instagram
I love
social. And
it. It's a community, and like everyone in the comments is so supportive of each other. I know that when Kevin, I think his name was Kevin, but he was the guitar teacher from Texas. When he was
yeah,
talking about what his family was going through with COVID, it was like the comments were
Brian.
so supportive. And
Yeah,
yes,
Brian.
everybody
Yeah.
was so giving him so much energy, and I love what. I love the kind of thing that you have.
A little burp.
Down the wrong pipe. She's fine.
Well, you know what? Thank you, because it feels,
really
and
cool.
thank you to everyone out there, because again, it's so rare when everybody's so lovely, and there's a guy called the John Davis Podcast who occasionally pipes up and is incredibly negative, and I haven't barred him because I think it just feels like the wrong thing to do, but he's an exception, and everybody else is just, it feels right, feels good. Very good. Yeah. Jamila, lots of love to you and Yukimi and your partner, and well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Stay well and stay safe, and lots of love.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye. That was lovely. Oh, man. All right, guys. I'm going to go now. Thank you for joining. Come to India. I'd love to come to India. I've been to India, but I'd like to come and play in India. I'd like to play in Iran, India. I hope you have a good week. And look after yourself. Be kind to yourself and be kind to the people around you. Okay. Lots of love, guys.